Bryan Charnley didn't fade away. He fractured, loudly, slowly, with paint thick as bone marrow. His studio wasn't a workspace, it was a dissection table, with 17 self-portraits lined like morgue slabs. He knew the walls were listening. He knew the thoughts weren't his anymore. Schizophrenia didn't ask permission. It barged in, with claws sharpened, and stayed. And instead of locking the madness away, Bryan picked up a brush. What followed wasn't healing, it was unraveling. He began the series in silence, with no gallery plans and no part on the back. These paintings, they weren't for us. They were messages to the thing chewing his mind, a negotiation or maybe a warning. The first canvas flinched, colors slightly off, shadows stretched like bruises under the skin. But then, the descent accelerated. Eyes began getting misplaced, teeth appearing where there shouldn't be teeth. Words scratched into the paint like whispers trapped in static. You can really trace the collapse in the brushwork. He wasn't painting what he saw in the mirror. He was painting what the mirror wanted him to become. What you're about to watch isn't a documentary. It's possession in slow motion. These paintings don't decorate. They infest. They don't invite. They corner you. Bryan didn't ask to be understood. He recorded a war most people can't see. And now we're holding his relics, each one humming with something that doesn't sleep. This isn't about mental health. It's about mental decay. And how one man chose to chronicle his own vanishing with a palette knife and courage laced with terror. Our story begins in Stockton-on-Tees, England, 1949, the year Bryan Charnley was born. He had a twin brother by the name James. From the beginning, Bryan was the quieter one, the more introspective and the more fragile kid. The family moved very often, from London, Chislehurst, and finally Bromham near Bedford, where their father worked as a senior lecturer. These relocations weren't traumatic in themselves, but they laid the groundwork for a sense of displacement, a rootlessness that would later metastasize into something far darker. At 18, Bryan suffered his first nervous breakdown. No warning, no soft descent, just sudden collapse into a world where thoughts turned against him. He was diagnosed with acute schizophrenia, a condition that would later stalk him for the rest of his life. But even then, he clawed his way into Leicester School of Arts and later earned a place at the Central School of Art and Design in London. That should have been a triumph. Instead, it became a graveyard. From 1971 all the way to 1977, Bryan lived at home, drifting between hospital beds and psychiatric wards. He was prescribed heavy doses of depict and tryptysol tranquilizers that numbed his thoughts and blurred his visions. He painted through it, through the fog and through the static. But the art world didn't care, because his work was too raw, too loud, and too honest. So he was broke, isolated, and drowning in medication that numbed his creativity and flattened his spirit. By 1978, he moved back to Bedford alone and began painting large photorealistic flowers. But they weren't enough. The rot was deeper. So he started studying Freud, exploring dreams, madness, and symbolism. His work turned inwards. He started painting bondage head, crucified eagles, surreal allegories, and he was trying to trap the hallucinations in oil and pigment. Then came Pam Jones. She was his partner, his muse, and his tether to the real world. In 1982, he painted a double portrait of them which was very serene and so tender. It was the high point of his photorealistic period. But 5 years later, Pam jumped out of a window. She survived, but her spine was shattered. Bryan painted that moment too, titled Living by the Window. It wasn't a metaphor, it was blood and bone and grief smeared across the canvas. That trauma didn't fade, it calcified. Pam became a ghost in his work, a wound that never clotted. He had a solo exhibition in 1989 and showed 2 pieces at the Royal College of Arts in 1990. But the recognition was fleeting, the rejection was constant, and he was drowning in obscurity. The medication he was taking dulled his edges and made painting feel like dragging a corpse across paper. He wrote in his diary that he felt like a target, that people could read his thoughts, that ESP was real and everyone around him was tuned into his mind. By 1991, Bryan had come to a decision. He would stop medication and would paint his descent in 17 self-portraits, each one a biopsy of his psyche. He kept a diary alongside the paintings, which were raw, unfiltered, and very terrifying. The first of the final self-portraits, Bryan sits in a blue shirt, head and shoulders rendered with cull precision. The face is still whole, the eyes are still human, the brushwork is steady, almost classical. But this is a mask, the last time he paints himself as the whole world might see him. He is medicated, sedated, and the drugs cradle him in a fog of artificial peace. But even here, he is already questioning the process, obsessed over the number of settings. The cracks are forming, the canvas is quiet, but the silence is loaded. In his diary, he wrote, "Conventional portrait painted in 2 settings. Is it a good likeness?" Drug dosage was 3 milligrams depixol daily plus 2 25 milligram triptysol, and I was sleeping a lot. And on the 20th of April 1991, Charnley made his second self-portrait, featuring a rabbit ear erupting from his skull like a grotesque container. His face begins to distort, the background is chaotic, colors clashing like voices in a crowded room. He is tapering off medication. The descent begins. He is no longer painting a man, he is painting prey. The rabbit's ear isn't whimsical, it's primal. He is hunted. The ego crucifixion begins. The canvas twitches with fear. And in his diary, he wrote, "The person upstairs was reading my mind and speaking back to me to keep me in a sort of ego crucifixion. I felt this because I was discharging very strong vibration, which could easily be interpreted. I tried to express this in the painting. The large rabbit ear is because I was confused and extremely sensitive to human voices, like a wild animal." 3 days later, Charnley painted a face that was reduced to a white oval, with eyes and mouth crossed out. The background is smeared with crude dots of blue, green, orange, and yellows. It looks like graffiti scrawled in panic. He's got himself in painting. The canvas doesn't speak, it suffocates. He's spiraling. The obsession with dates, with ESP, with being seen and heard against his will, it's all here, bleeding through the brush. He wrote, "I had come to the conclusion that most people around me had some extrasensory perception abilities which gave them access to my mind. In this respect, I was like a blind man, hence the crosses on my eyes. They also let me know verbally what they had picked up from my thoughts. I was like a dumb man in this respect, and hence the cross over the mouth. The crossed out dates are because I was becoming obsessed that I had taken 2 sittings rather than one on the first self-portrait. The following day he painted a head that is split, the top half showing a brain spotted with real blood, the lower half smokes a pipe. The mouth is stitched up, the eyes are gone. He is painting pain now, not just metaphor, but raw physical agony. This is no longer symbolic, it's sacrificial. He's using his own blood. The stitched mouth is not silence, it's mutilation. The pipe, a relic of normalcy, now smolders in a face that's vanishing. In his diary, he wrote, "The spots on the brain of the head are real blood to try and get over the mental pain I was experiencing. I was smoking heavily, hence the pipe. No eyes to see what is really going on, and a stitched up mouth. The blood is my own. I stabbed the base of my thumb, not the kind of thing you're able to do on the tranquilizers. Still on one tablet of depict and sleeping pill. But no, I cannot go on much longer." His final self-portrait during that month on the 29th of April featured a very chaotic, almost frantic painting. Bryan's face is fractured, surrounded by jagged symbols and erratic colors. A cigarette that is crossed out can also be seen. The background pulses with spiritual dread. He is unraveling. He writes, "Love is strange," on the canvas. Maybe this is a mantra or a lifeline, but the relief is fleeting. The painting is a scream interrupted. In his diary, he writes, "Things had really been getting out of hand. A strange spiritual force was making me feel I should not smoke or I will incur disaster. This was driving me crazy, as I am normally a heavy smoker. I walked and walked, throwing my pouch of tobacco away. I had taken 15 tablets of Depixol on 24th April to try and throw off the spiritual demands, which were driving me crazy along with the ESP, but to no avail. I kept taking the dosage the next few days, but nothing was having any effect, and I felt I might have to go to hospital." On the 2nd of May, the canvas is insectoid. A bird, which could be his spirit, is crushed by a maggot. A hooded phallus looms, which is grotesque and yet symbolic. A man with two heads, one a nose, splits the frame. A clothesline hangs with secrets. The colors are muted and the brushwork torpid. This isn't symbolism, it's confession. The canvas is a crime scene. The viewer isn't a spectator, they are a witness. In his diary he wrote, "I was almost completely without energy. This explains the simple technique. I hadn't the energy for anything else. This is expressed by the pupa, the torpid state in insects. The spirit, expressed by a bird, is crushed by the maggot. My Oedipus complex is represented by the hooded phallus. My conflict of thought, expressed by the man with two heads, one is a nose. The clothesline is to say that all my dirty washing thoughts are on display." On the 6th of May, the painting is a battlefield. Bryan's face is no longer a face, it's a target. A bullseye blooms across his forehead, while nails pierce through the canvas, not delicately, but violently, as if someone tried to crucify the image mid-process. The background is a haze of muted reds and yellows, like smoke after explosion. The eyes are wide, but not with awareness, with terror. The mouth is clenched, nailed, gagged by implication. At this point, Bryan is deep into withdrawal. The medication is nearly gone. The protective fog has lifted, and what is left is exposure. He feels hunted, not metaphorically, literally. Every glance, every sound, every imagined whisper becomes a bullet. Over a week later, on the 8th self-portrait, the face is a gory mess. The ego splits like a cancer cell under siege. A Roman soldier's leg juts into the frame, which is alien, symbolic, and accusatory. The background is smeared with reds and flesh tones, like meat dragged across concrete. Bryan's expression is hollow, as if he's already halfway gone. He's painting defeat, not metaphorical, total defeat. The leg isn't just symbolic, it's a boot pressing down on his neck. The crucifixion isn't religious, it's personal. The canvas is a battlefield and Bryan is a casualty. In his diary, he wrote, "The ego splitting like a cancer cell as it comes under attack, a gory mess. The Roman soldier's leg expresses my fear of the mafia. I also feel Rome was the real decider and actually crucified the Christ. My ego is being crucified. My feelings, my Oedipus complex is summed up by the leg of an Italian. I am a target with no hope of victory, only total humiliation. I completely acquiesce to this, but I'm still deeply hurt all the time." 4 days later, his brain is no longer a brain. It's a mouth, enormous, screaming, acting independently. A foot pries it open, forcing thoughts to spill out. On the left, a mass of gore, thick, wet, visceral. The nail in the mouth returns, a brutal gag. This is no longer symbolic, it's anatomical. He's painting the mechanics of torment. The gore isn't decoration, it's diagnosis. My mind seemed to be thought broadcasting very severely, and it was beyond my will to do anything about it. I summed this up by painting my brain as an enormous mouth, acting independently of me. The trouble seemed to me, rightly or wrongly, to stem from the broken heart on my left, so I painted a great mass of God there to express this. The foot that connects to this is pushing the mouth open for the thoughts to be broadcasted. I feel I'm always divided against myself, by myself. Again, the nail in the mouth expresses my social inaptitude and an inability to socialize, which makes me a target. By the 10th self-portrait, the painting turns blue. Depression floods the frame, wavy lines ripple across the canvas like broadcast signals. His face is warped, submerged in static. He's cutting back on antidepressant and the withdrawal is brutal. He's painting exposure. The canvas is a surveillance tape. The blue isn't aesthetic, it's bruising. The waves aren't decorative, they're invasive. He's being gutted by voices, and the painting bleeds that truth. He went along to write, "I really tire of having to explain my paintings. It is very much my tragedy that people cannot understand the straightforward poetic use of symbols I'm employing. The blue of the portrait is there because I felt depressed through cutting back on the antidepressants. The wavy lines are because, just as I felt safe, a voice from the street gutted me emotionally by its ESP of my condition. At this stage, my central worry was thought broadcasting. This would pass as I gained insight and the effect of drug withdrawal wore off." The following day, on the 24th of May, the canvas splits in two. On the left, a bleeding heart pulses, which is red, raw, and exposed. On the right, spider legs claw across Bryan's face, which are black and angular, like the fingers of a nightmare. His expression is frozen, caught between agony and silence. The background is a haze of muted dread. The spider legs aren't metaphorical, they are infestation. They crawl across his skin, his thoughts, and his will. The heart isn't symbolic, it's a hemorrhage. He is painting the moment before the collapse. The canvas doesn't speak, it convulses. In his diary, he says, "Perhaps a broken heart is the cause of it all. Suddenly it hurts. This is expressed best as I can on the left side. The spider's legs on the right are to express my inhibitions and the feeling that comes over me as my thoughts surface and broadcast. Scary. I feel all the time now that I am getting nearer to a more acute expression of my schizophrenia." On the 12th self-portrait, the spider legs return, now more dominant. Bryan's body is transparent, as if he's fading from the world. The background is sterile, and clinical. The brushwork is restrained and almost resigned. His face is a ghost of himself. He's dissecting himself. The transparency isn't aesthetic, it's anatomical. He's peeling back layers, trying to find the core of his illness. But the truth slips through the cracks. The canvas is a failed autopsy. In his diary, he says, "The spider's legs seem to be my central condition. The spider's legs represents inhibition, social and otherwise. Is this the truth of my condition? I was to find out otherwise, but it was certainly part of the truth." The self-portrait made on the 13th of June featured 2 eggs lying cracked and emptied. Van Gogh's crows swarm the sky, ESP horns protrude, mouths grin like predators. The background is a wheat field of dread. Bryan's face is hollowed and stripped. This is not a painting, it's a last meal. He's feeding his tormentors with the contents of his mind. The crows aren't birds, they are scavengers. The canvas is a feast of violation. In his diary, this is what he had to say. "The eggs have been emptied like a head stripped of its contents. It has nothing left in it. No more secrets. They went to satisfy somebody's appetite. Somebody that has power over me. They enjoyed every tasty mouthful. Needless to say, I feel suicidal, so I painted in Van Gogh's crows from his final suicide picture of the wheat field." In the 14th self-portrait, the mouth is nailed shut, the tongue is tied, and his face is intruded upon, figures pressing in, voices clawing through. The background is a blur of intrusion. The nails are thick, brutal, and unforgiving. He is voiceless. The painting is claustrophobic. The nails aren't symbolic, they are surgical. He is gagged by paranoia and silenced by imagined ESP. The canvas is a locked room. You don't look at it, you're trapped inside it. He wrote, "Do they just want to party? An intrusion into my mental interior life, like everybody has a foot in the door. Nailed mouth and tongue-tied, I have no effective reply to them." In his next self-portrait, his body is transparent. A man with a control stick looms around. Nails pierce his brain, his ego, and his self-respect. A red beast rises, muzzled, and is tied. Eyebrows bend into mouth, broadcasting hallucinations. This is crucifixion, not religious, but neurological. He is nailed to his own thoughts. The red beast is rage, muzzled by fear. The mouth on the eyebrows are hallucinations. The canvas is agony frozen. My brain, my ego, is transfixed with nails as a Christ who could not move more freely on the cross without severe pain. I realize that the fear caused by my anger, symbolized by the red, tied beast, muzzled because the anger arises from not being able to reply to the abuse heaped on me. I express this as best as I can through the mouth on the end of the enormous bent-up eyebrows. By the 16th self-portrait, the face is gone. In its place, a storm of symbols, fractured geometry, and a single line of text scrolled across the canvas like prophecy. It says, "The cards are no good that I'm holding unless they are from another world." A lyric from Bob Dylan's Series of Dreams. Bryan offers no diary entry, no explanation, and no commentary. The painting is a cipher and a riddle left behind. The background is a chaos of red, yellow, and black, colors that feels like nerves. The brushwork is erratic and desperate. There's no symmetry, no structure. It's as if the canvas itself is rejecting form. The symbols swirl like debris in a psychic hurricane. You don't look at this painting, you are pulled in it. This isn't a portrait, it's a transmission. Bryan is reaching beyond schizophrenia, beyond the body and beyond the canvas. And on the 17th self-portrait, which was his final one, red and yellow streaks slash across the canvas. No face, no form, and no symbols. The painting is pure anguish. It looks unfinished, but it isn't. It's obliteration. The brushwork is violent, almost frantic. The colors scream. The silence roars. There's no structure, only rapture. The canvas doesn't depict Bryan. It erases him completely. It's not a goodbye, it's disappearance. 10 days later, Bryan was dead. This painting was still on the easel when he died. There was no diary entry, no explanation, and no final words. The canvas itself was the last statement. Charnley didn't leave behind a legacy. He left behind evidence. 17 self-portraits, 17 stages of descent. Each one a confession, a scream, and a plea. He didn't ask to be understood. He asked to be seen. And now you've seen him. But this isn't the end. It's an invitation to look deeper, to ask the harder questions, and to explore the intersection of art and madness, beauty and decay, silence and scream. Until the next one.